Hey, welcome to episode 2 of Tabor Radio, the official Ghosts of Tabor podcast, which I guess isn't an aspect that we stressed enough in the first intro
It's all good.
for the first episode. But yeah, this is the official Ghosts of Tabor podcast. On episode 1, we did a little brief introduction of ourselves and what the podcast would be about. And then we were joined by the CEO of Combat Waffle Studios, Scott Albright. And for episode 2, we have a great one planned where we're going to be talking with somebody that did a little bit of a community managing role, but now has moved on to QA and support and just overall has a great story in the VR industry. His name's Mikaël, but most people know him by PurpleMikey.
PurpleMikey.
Yeah, so that's probably what you've seen him on Discord and, maybe other VR social media platforms and stuff like that.
We already know this guy's a rock star, so.
I think everybody on the Combat Waffle team is. I mean, that's how you get a game like this. And, for episode 1, the wipe hadn't come yet. It was mythological. It was hyped. It was rumored. Everybody was excited for it.
The wipe has come.
Yep. And we've seen the new bunker, which looks sick.
And even an update after the wipe.
Yep. Mag palming is now in the game, which is something that we had talked with Scott about in episode 1. But you can grab 2 clips at the same time and, switch them out of the gun. So you don't need to take your clip out, drop it, then grab. Nope. 2 clips in the hand at once, which this is the first VR game to do that. That's huge.
Well, they're having to pretty much make everything themselves, so.
And then, this new bunker,
Dude,
totally
the
different.
Desert Eagle, though. Desert Eagle and airdrops.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, and airdrops is a whole. That's a game changing element of the game. It gives good reason to stick in a raid. I mean, ourselves included, we were getting ready to leave, and then we saw that thing dropping from the sky. We're like, let's stick around and see what happens. And 2 firefights later, it made it worth it. So great changes. You load into Tabor Island, you see the day tag on it, so we know night's coming. And again, this bunker, it's totally redesigned, new rooms.
No, with what they're doing, with just the bunker element alone, and then the future of it, you're really playing 2 games now in one, because the bunker element is going to be its own game in all the things that you're going to be able to do, and then you actually have the purpose of the game, which is the raid. So it's pretty incredible to watch how this is expanding on both ends, both from a in-map gameplay as well as just what's going on in the bunkers, because you thought you had a lot of shit to do before. Now you got so much more you can do.
Yeah, I've already referenced it a few times, but if anybody hasn't listened to the first episode of Tabor Radio yet, where we sit down with Scott, I mean, something he teased was, levels coming to your character, into your bunker, and we can see the foundation of that, where at the end of the raid, you might gain some XP, lose some XP, depending on how you did, and it's great because they don't just reward you for loot. Of course, you do get some XP for that, but you get XP just for successfully doing the exfil, for killing other players, for killing NPCs, for picking up
Something
things.
to be made for everything.
Yeah, so what I think is great about that is it rewards so much more than just going in there, grabbing something quick and leaving. No, hang out.
Which I do it now and then, because I just, for time reasons or whatever, I can't, there's other times where we'll jump in and we'll plan on.
Well, I'm also guilty that I find something that it's I'm keeping this, I'm getting the hell out of that raid.
Yeah, you want to keep it.
Whereas other times it's we haven't really gotten any good loot yet, or I'm going more for trader missions, kill some players.
Solo play, I tend to go in and just try to get the hell out, and whatever I can grab from point A to point B, then I grab it, dump it when I get back to my bunker, and then go in alone. But if I play, with you, or if we do you and Caleb, then...
Or if we both die and now you're alone.
We go in for the, that's when we're bringing the water and the food, and we're going in for the long haul, and let's try to wipe the server.
Yeah, and I mean...
Take everything we can. Double fisting.
I'll be honest with you. If we're playing and you die and now it's me solo, it's a totally different feel in the game.
The survival element is much more adrenaline inducing when you're by yourself.
Yeah, my primal senses are going. Any noise I hear,
and then more so when you play with somebody, because you watched your fucking buddy get killed So obviously somebody's shooting at you, and now you're the sole guy left. That's not like that person's going to go, oh, I got one of them. I'll just stop firing my gun now. No, whether it's NPC or human. And now there's a group of people who their thing is to, they just hunt.
I felt myself being stalked before,
Yeah,
I
they
swear.
stealth hunt.
And also, let's be real. Somebody kills your buddy, you want to kill them now. You go out there with a little bit of a vengeance too. You know, somebody takes you out. It's personal. I need to take them out too.
I hunted one guy once. I
Followed him good.
I was able to track him, and what I did was I used the, maybe I shouldn't even give this away, but I will. I used the tree trunks to constantly block his line of sight from me, because I'd know if I can't see him, he can't see me, but I knew where he was. And then he'd stop and like go in his backpack, and I'd go to the next tree, and I was able to get like right up on him to the point where if I was good with, you know, a melee, I could have knifed him. But no, I just took out my gun and one shot, one killed him. But it felt so good because I'm like, I had to stalk him across the street and make it across the street without being seen, hope he doesn't turn around. I'm trying not to, you know, make too much noise. It was friggin' awesome, dude.
The only way that could have been better is if it ended with somebody killed you because they were hunting you at the same time.
The hunter being hunted.
Which I'm sure has happened.
So many ways to play this game.
Yeah, but this update, you know, so much has changed since episode 1. You know, the functionality.
I think we're gonna hear about it from
Mikey.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
PurpleMikey himself.
But I'll say without a doubt, just on my end, my performance has gone up so much. No crashes, everything's running smooth. You know, no frame rate. So
I might argue performance goes up. Like personal performance or game performance?
I meant game performance,
Okay.
like no frame rate drops.
Personal performance, yeah, we played enough. It's
but I go in waves. We've even gone through. We've gone through funks of like losing 5 raids in a row. You know, so
I don't think stop lying. We ain't never lost no 5 in a row.
Yeah, that's a little.
I know
bit
I know 3 in a row definitely, and then as predicted after the wipe, I knew that like there's going to be some serious players jumping into these servers, and that's when we got pinged like 3 times in a row.
So yeah, player performance is one thing, but no, my game performance, you know, the visual quality of it, the frame rates,
they fixed a ton
smooth,
of shit.
you know. So
I'm anxious to hear about.
Hear
about it firsthand.
So one of the great things about this podcast is, you know, of course, you know, we interviewed Scott last week, but he's kind of the guy that's appeared on a bunch of different podcasts, a bunch of different media, and with Tabor Radio, something that's great is we're going to be able to get a chance to hear from all of the different team members that make Ghosts of Tabor great. So like we said at the beginning, today we're joined with PurpleMikey, who works on the keyway side, some game support. So be good.
This should be a good one.
Yeah, this is somebody with, you know, he
We'll let him describe what he is.
Yeah, Scott hyped him up. He said, "This is the guy.
So that's why I'm
talk
excited.
to him." So let's hear what he has in
Bring it
store,
on.
and we'll go from there. So stay tuned. And we're here. We're joined with Mikaël, also known as PurpleMikey in the online communities for Ghosts of Tabor and some other VR games. You know, we've seen him around the VR industry for quite a while since we started the podcast. So definitely excited to have PurpleMikey on, but I think you'll do a much better job introducing yourself than we will.
Yeah.
So do you mind to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your role at Combat Waffle Studios and specifically with Ghosts of Tabor?
Yeah, sure. So, for Ghosts of Tabor and Combat Waffle Studio, what I do is mainly support, and I do QA and managing a small QA team. And basically trying to break the game and then answering emails on how to fix the game. So that is, I'm on both edge, like breaking the game, fixing the game. That's where I'm at. And I do jump in the middle too to do a couple of things. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It seems like everyone at Combat Waffle has many hats. It's like you're not just going to be one dimensional as an employee there. They're going to find something else that you can do or you're good at, and
I think
put you in that role.
The game's growing too fast and too big of a player base.
The game exploded. It's not even growing. It's like literally exploded. And anytime I go into like chats or different groups on other social mediums, I'll see when people are asking like, hey, what games do you recommend? And there's always somebody saying, Ghosts of Tabor, Ghosts of Tabor.
So for...
and
sorry, keep going.
It grew like beyond our expectations. We are always believed in our product, we always believed in our vision, but you cannot imagine a game being a success like that in early access on App Lab, where there is basically no visibility. So all the visibility is from basically content creators and players just telling their friends to play our game. So it definitely grew beyond expectations, at least faster than we expected, and we're very happy with that. But yeah, then we need to like kind of grow with the community because we can't stay a small team and try to manage all those people.
Yeah, the joys of growing exponentially. But on the first episode when we interviewed Scott, he was very adamant. He was like, "You got to get Mikey on. He's got a great story. He hopped on board early. He's passionate." So, when exactly did you discover Ghosts of Tabor, and when did you kind of start to work alongside them?
Yeah, I met Scott a few years ago. I'm not exactly sure when and how we met, actually. It's just like I've been around the VR industry since 2000, late 2000. I'm not even sure we can't count 2015 because it was December. So, but like a month in 2015 and then 2016 and up. That's when I discovered VR, and I've been involved in that world, I would say, since that. Um, and then at some point I met Scott. I'm not sure when, and then he had the idea of making a VREL, which is a VR esport league. And then I started to work with him over there, and then we started to chat, and then he said, "Hey, I'm working on a game. I really want to make the next big game, and it is Ghosts of Tabor." And then I was not familiar with loot shooters. I never played Escape from Tarkov. I never played on Showdown, games like that. So he just started to introduce me to that idea that was Ghosts of Tabor. And I kind of got excited because I was like, yeah, it's basically an MMO VR FPS. Like you're always online, always, building your skills in real life, but also getting loot and things like that. So I was really excited about it. And I think it was June of last year when I got introduced to the project and all that. And then as we were growing, as the game was growing, I would say, I was getting more and more insight on where it was. And then starting at, say, November, I really started to work closer to the team to try to build contacts because I've been around VR since a while, helping devs. So I really tried to grow them. And then in December, Scott started to talk to me about joining the team, and I was like, I'm really busy, and I have a full-time job, and I got a bunch of projects, and then he kept asking me, and then around March, I said, okay, your project is way too awesome for me to pass, so I'm joining the team. So yeah, and I really love the team too, because like being around them and seeing. At first, I was not directly involved with all the team members; it was mainly with Scott. But as the team, we're getting closer to a release, I would say. I started to talk with each individual members and really learn the team behind the game, I would say. And it's a bunch of people that I really enjoy being around. So I felt like I have my place right there with them.
And how big was the team when you joined? Did you even know the total size? Because you said you were working pretty directly with Scott at that time.
Well, back in November, I would say I'm not sure who was there yet. I know that there were some moving parts to during the process because when you start with an idea, then your vision might not match everyone's vision. So at some point, you have moving pieces that you need to find new people. Maybe they found a new role somewhere or something. So I can't say who was there when I was just talking with Scott, but back in March, I know we even February and January we were a small team. I think we were 6 or 7. Yeah,
amazing what can be done with passion. A small group, but with a lot of passion. It seems like everybody that works on Tabor, it's like they try it, and your eyes light up.
In this case, it seemed more like at the beginning, like more conceptual than like here's the product we're working with. I mean, you were sold on a vision of what could come, but it's always worth noting too that this game has not been under development for like 3 or 4 years here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking a wicked short amount of time,
Oh yeah,
and it's available to play. It's the creepiest thing in the world to see this product this good in such a short time. It's like we
it's crazy.
interview tons of developers, and it's like a minimum of 2 years to get a product out there, and that's not anything as
Yeah,
immersive as this. So it's still mind blowing, and I always like to remind people that this is early access.
It's only begun. This isn't the finished product by any
exactly. Yeah,
means, and that's why there's people like you that they're trying to break the game and find ways to fix it. So for anybody listening who they're more of a gamer than working inside the technical field of the gaming industry, do you want to explain a little bit more what being a QA tester and support entails?
yeah, sure. So I'm also around the community trying to collect feedback, collect whatever could be helpful for devs, and then the QA team, of course. Basically, bug reports, crashes, or anything, just watching streamers, and I try to interact with them too. Just trying to find out what is not working, mainly breaking the game, but also like user experience. So, and then I bring that up to the team, and we're looking at it, making tasks for like everybody that would be involved in fixing the game. Uh, and then they work on it, and whenever they're done with their task, they put in a box, like a review box, and then it's just a bunch of checklists that I have to go through and try to break, and then I make tasks for the QA people to just join in, try to break the game all together, and yeah, and then every time there's a new feature, we're also testing it, trying to break it in every possible and creative ways that we can possibly think of, like mag palming, but like doing that close your chest and close your backpack, doing that while you're holding like a gun that doesn't really have an advantage of being mag palm, but you're like, oh, just in case they try with that gun or in that particular scenario, or so yeah, and also like crazy things like dragging bodies in certain areas of the map, because at some point you couldn't drag bodies, like use the body and drag them around in labs. So it was like broken for some reason in labs. So we were just killing people in labs and trying to grab the bodies and move them around in every rooms of lab. So yeah, so that's what we do basically. We try to break the game and be creative about how we can break it.
So you literally have to try to think of every possible scenario a player may try to do something in every single
Mhm.
area of the game.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes like it's we can like put 5 people and then try to shoot them all in the head, see if every item's dropped correctly. Like every people just say everything they had in their backpack, they take screenshots of it, put it back, then we shoot everybody, we open the backpack and we're like, do you have that? And we, count every items, and yeah, so it's basically like it sounds like playing the game, I guess, but like it's dissecting every single frame of the game and trying to find what could be broken. And it's like a strange, I don't want to say like scenario, but like it's a strange thing to test in a setup that is not a live setup, because it always seems to break more when you introduce it to uh, a lot of people. So like we tested like, oh, I think it's bug free, and then we push in, people start reporting bug. Like the second we push it out, and we're like, we tested that, it worked. And, but yeah, it's always different when it's a lot more players and with different setups, and yeah.
Yeah, that's part.
And I'd assume also it never ends because anytime there's an update, I'm sure you're still hacking at it, and then even when there's not an update, you still got to continue with it. That's a
Yeah.
tough grind.
Well, and beyond that, there's the whole QA team trying to break the game. But
Yeah.
how big is the Discord? How big are the Facebook groups? How big is the
Oh,
community
the
that plays
Discord's
this game?
ridiculous.
It's not just the QA team goes in and tries to break the game. There's a subset of players that either intentionally or unintentionally go in
Find stuff.
find stuff to break. So kind of on that, there's some,
Yeah.
there's a lot of channels of community in this game, whether like I referenced before, that's Discord, which is huge. I see some very big Facebook groups as well. And occasionally I've seen people post like, hey, I discovered a bug, but I don't want to post it in the group because otherwise, then people are going to go, well, that's a great idea. So
Yeah.
just to get it on record, if somebody's playing the game and either intentionally trying to break the game or unintentionally, and they discover an exploit or a bug or a glitch, what's the best channel or a method to get this word to the QA team?
Yeah, so there's many ways I would say to reach out. There's the mud team on Discord. If you're on Discord, they do a fantastic job of collecting the data, and sometimes some of them are also part of the QA team, so they kind of know if we are already on it, so they can answer straight away. And there's more moderators than there's me. Like there's only one me, so it's easier if they go that way. Or they can say, let's reach out to support at Combat Waffle, and then they can send me an email, so I can look into it via email. Many people DM me too on Discord. It's not my favorite way because like right now I have over nearly 100 DMs right now, and I looked at them yesterday, so it's very hard to go through all of them.
Give you anxiety.
Yeah, it's whenever I open my Discord and I'm like, oh no. And I turn off my notification on my phone because otherwise my watch just keep, going beep, beep, and I'm like, I'm just trying to sleep. So, yeah. So whenever I go in front of my PC, I realize that I'm late on job because I have a bunch of DMs to answer and emails to answer. So if they can go the Discord way and it moderators, then it really makes it easier. But they can send me a DM or an email, and I will try to get through it as fast as possible.
I give those mods in the Discord a tremendous amount of credit because I'll just
Yeah.
like the general chat, which is probably the
most poppin'.
Oh my god, dude! One time I went in there, I said like one thing, and then it was a slow conversation, but
it's buried.
I couldn't
it's gone
within seconds. I mean, just boom, 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 boom.
So we
huge community in Discord.
So when you got started on this, were you expecting this kind of sudden exponential growth, or is this completely blown you away and almost weren't even prepared for this kind of huge community?
Yeah, so since I've been around VR since a long time, before the game launch, I was talking to Scott, and then I was telling him what to expect and what not to expect. And I would say that such a big amount of players joining in was in the not to expect section of it. And yeah, and it definitely happened. So it's something that I was not expecting because we're mainly visible on Steam. And Steam usually, the PCVR community usually don't really buy games unless it's on sale. Like it takes time before it really, catch, I would say, like before it catch fire, and people just jump on it. So it was a surprise to see both the Steam and the Quest version do well right away. It's not something I was expecting, especially with AppLab, which is very, very hard to get discovered on. If you go on AppLab and then you try to look on the VR database and then you try to look at the ratings, most games are not even rated on AppLab. They got 0 rating or 1 rating. So that is something that Meta really should do better, in my opinion. But we're the lucky ones, so we can't complain about it. If I'm looking at the others, I wish there was a way for them to be discovered.
I mean, I will throw the caveat in. I mean, I put some of the responsibility on for being discovered on AppLab. It's that self-marketing that if a team isn't doing or trying to get the word out, it happens. We've seen and spoken to a lot of AppLab devs who recognize that, and they did do their best to get the word out and, start a community, start a Discord. But when you don't and you don't have ratings, I kind of understand why.
Yeah, well, I think I even saw
Yeah.
this year for official store and app lab. There's only been 2 games that have broken 1,000 reviews that have released this year, and one of those is Ghosts of Tabor. That's talking on the MetaQuest store.
Mhm.
So this is
Yeah.
like Meta's dream app. It's a game that doesn't need Meta's
Well,
marketing to
it's
succeed.
Combat Waffle has proved you can do it
Well, here's the
if
thing.
you're willing to have a team that, I mean, there is a passion that everyone seems at Combat
Mhm.
Waffle that they have. I mean, we've talked to Scott twice, and there's no doubt his passion is 100% real. And I think he's done a good job of putting together a team that's just gangsters at what they do.
Well, the reality is, and I'm a huge VR industry supporter. We review games, talk VR news, interview devs weekly
Yeah.
on Rough Talk VR. We love the VR industry, but the reality is, why is Ghost of Tabor so successful? It's because a Ghost of Tabor didn't exist before. There's not a
Mhm.
thousand other of these loot survival
No,
based
there's none.
shooters. And the sad reality is sometimes a lot of people are scared to take chances. That's why there's a million gorilla tag clones on side quest and 1,000 rhythm games involving swinging your arms, because it works once and then everybody goes, let's do that. So probably we'll start to see some Ghost of Tabor clones, but they'll never be the
Yep.
original. I often talk about, let's see Civilization in VR, and people crucify me for that, because they're like, it's not utilizing the full scope of VR. And we talk a lot about wanting to see board games in VR, and same things. People go, oh, that's not immersed enough, even though Catan works great and Demio works great. And the only
Yeah.
reason they don't exist is because there's not people that have done and made it successful yet. But as soon as one person does it, then there'll be 1,000 others. And that's the reason Ghost of Tabor is successful, is because they didn't just do the same formula that they know works in other games. They went and they did something that doesn't exist yet. And that's so important for developers to do.
Well, and filled a niche that
Doesn't exist.
people want,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you had told me years ago, like, hey, this is the game that's going to come out, I would have been super excited,
And
even if it took 2 years before we could play it.
And I'm not here to BS anybody. I'm just like you. I never played Tarkov. I never played this style of game flat screen. It's not like I was a Tarkov maniac that's now going over to Tabor. But I've never even experienced something like this. It's like, hell yeah. And to have it in VR, I'm sold. I'm in. But if there was 1,000 other of these previously, would it have made the same impactful wave? No. But they did something unique. They took the chance, and look at the results,
On App Lab.
Yeah. So
And I think, like, beyond being unique, there's a lot of factors that made Ghost of Tabor successful, and there's a lot of factors that will make our future games successful, in my opinion. And one thing that Ghost of Tabor did great is pre-launch marketing. I would say we've let smaller content creators in. We let them create content, and it wasn't about the size of your channel necessarily. It was just about the passion you had for our game. So we've got a bunch of passionate people to join us on our journey and basically build a game with us. And I think then they show back respect and love for our game. And there's that, and then there's also trying to everywhere I've been before was all about keeping things behind closed door, and Ghost of Tabor is really transparent about what we're doing, where we fail, where we succeed, and we're not ashamed to have bugs or things like that. It exists, and we acknowledge it when we talk to our players, So I think they kind of respect the transparency, and to say that we're working on it will take more time than we thought, and things like that. We're trying to really be human to human with them, and not, just basically pre-written sentence that we paste over and over. That's not what we do. And yeah, building a community before you launch the game is really important. I see VR games launching with not even a Twitter account, or like you see the game launching and they have like 100 followers, and you're like, oh, there's maximum 100 person that know your game exists right now and want it. It's not something that you should do, launching a game right now. I believe that if there's no interest in your game right now, you should delay it until there is. I know that there's some financial reason why you would want to launch a game right now, because you kind of have a date, and that's when you need to launch. But yeah, there's a bunch of factors that made Ghosts of Tabor successful, and there's a bunch of areas that are not explored yet in VR. You're talking about civilization. That is one area that really fits VR. People, especially like on socials, when you go there, they're like, that doesn't work for VR. Well, it works for VR. Everything works for VR. Cleaning your desk work in VR if that's what you want to do in VR. Whatever you want to do in VR, you can do it in VR too. It's not because it's not done that it's impossible, because a loot shooter is also impossible in VR if you go back 1 year, because it doesn't exist. And like Beat Saber is impossible in VR if you go back to 2015, because it was not there yet. So I just think there's a bunch of areas that are not explored yet and should be explored, and won't be explored until someone really say, hey, I'm going to do it because no one else will do it if I don't do it. If you're looking, like, there's a game that came out, I think it's called like Terraforming Mars or something like that. That is about building a city on Mars, which is kind of like Civilization would be, I guess. And the game really works because you look left, you look right, and you're in the game. You're there.
I think it was.
And,
Per Aspera.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So like it works, and then you can add a bunch of things. Some RTS game where you could be a kind of a power up where you're the god and you just start smashing things around, or you throwing meteorites to the ground. There's a bunch of things that could work in VR. You could see the sun, and then you can grab it and shift it, and then it's night. And things like that. There's a lot you can do in VR, and you're physically there. And even if you're not interacting directly with the world in front of you, you're still there. I remember a game called Black and White back in the days, where you were not in the game, you were watching over, but the people knew you were there. You were the kind of god of them. So you were a god to them. And then in VR, you can be that person too. Up there in the sky, and you cannot interact directly with the world, but indirectly. And I think it makes sense. So yeah, I think the VR community really should learn that VR is about everything and not about specifics that are already there on the store, and then VR would be a better place to be.
Absolutely. And when we talk with Scott about future projects, I know Strass over here joked, "Oh, I want Rust in VR," and he's like,
Yeah,
"Well,
who wouldn't?"
And then he goes, "We're actually working on that." And it's like, yeah, if you ask anybody, they're going to go, "Rust in VR would be great, but I don't think it can be done." Whereas Combat Waffle Studios goes, "Why not? Let's
Hold
do
my
it."
coffee.
Yeah. So thank you for confirming my beliefs. I think those top down simple management great games work great.
I think
in VR.
it's the minority voice that screams like, that
Exactly,
would work in VR, but sometimes the minority voice is the loudest.
Well, sometimes
Where everyone else is like, just if you make it, if you make it and it's done well, they will come.
Unfortunately, sometimes that minority voice is the ones with financial backing or gatekeeping.
Oh no,
some
I get
things
it.
too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's why I love Combat Waffle Studios. They go where the path hasn't been done yet, and it's exactly what you said. If you sold Beat Saber to somebody conceptually before it'd been done, they'd say no. Same with Ghosts of Tabor. Scott went and pitched it, to do Tarkov in VR, and they said can't be done. 11 mil, whatever.
Or 5 million, some stupid amount of money.
People love
5
to say
years.
no. It's way easier to say no, something can't be done than it is to.
Well, let's be honest though. There is risk involved. Even if you have a good product, there's no sure thing. It's and again, we could say like, I could see Combat Waffle going into the whole marketing aspect for VR companies because they did it well. I mean, who the hell has a pre-launch for a game in early access? That's crazy.
Or just publishing in general,
Oh yeah.
Something that we've glossed over with you that I think is a huge aspect of your role is, you said you got started with VR in 2015. You mentioned, based off your previous experience working with VR games, you wouldn't recommend this. So you're not somebody that this is your first role in the professional side of VR. So do you want to talk a little bit about, your background in the industry of VR before Combat Waffle Studios and Ghosts of Tabor?
Yeah. So before Ghosts of Tabor, I was actually working as a director of art department and automation for a company doing NHL jerseys, basically. It was a very different industry. But that was my day-to-day job where I had my financial security, I would say. But at night, I was working on totally different projects. My nights were all about VR, so I was like doing my it was 8 to 5 job, uh, and then when I signed off of that job, I was cooking dinner, eating with family, and then I was like, okay, on to my next job, and I was going helping VR studios all night. So and I was always refusing to take a paycheck or anything from other VR studios because I was like, I wanted to stay a passion. I had that belief that as soon as it became a job, you would lose that passion. Because I saw devs, mainly on Twitter and Discord, just saying I don't play VR anymore because I work in VR all day. And I was like, oh, that looks like a very boring future for VR. If our devs don't even play VR and don't care about VR, they just care about putting their product out there. And I did not want that to happen to me, so I was just helping out for free. And most of the projects that I worked were under NDA, so I'm not sure when the NDA actually breaks. So I can't say much, but I've tested after the fall. There's Unplugged VR that I work with to find their publisher and things like that. There's a Green L VR that I worked on helping them out with feedback and building the game on Quest and then on PC VR because it was two different teams there. A bunch of game over the years. Some that I've launched on App Labs and on the official store, mainly as providing feedback, building contacts for all of them to reach out, find information about specific plugin that they were trying to integrate or something. I was working in Unity to build my own prototype just to show devs sometimes that something could work in VR. Sometimes they're like, no, like basically that's been done that way since 2 years, so that's the way we have to go. And I was like, maybe not. It's intuitive. It's not intuitive, and like it just breaks the experience for everyone. So maybe we could go that route. And then I was trying to build it and show them. And sometimes they would like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then they would go that path. And sometimes they were right. And the way that we were doing it since 2 years was still the best way that we know. So they were still going that route. But yeah, I believe VR still has a lot to learn in the user experience side of things. So yeah, but I've been around VR doing pretty much helping out devs to really reach their full potential, I guess.
Well, and every game you mentioned happened to be some
Yeah, some great
really
ones.
friggin' good games.
Some
So
of our favorites.
you have
absolutely.
a knack for finding the good ones to work on for sure.
Whether it's a coincidence or there's a correlation, whatever the result, some of those games won even awards on the show, like Green Hell VR won our best port of the year last year. Unplugged VR is one of the best examples of hand tracking I've seen. After the fall, people still play that with. It's not a game that has so many maps, and it still has an insane amount of people going to it daily. So yeah, absolutely, all great games. And how did you discover VR? Like, what was your first VR experience? That's always something I love hearing.
Yeah, I was extremely bored with flat gaming. I don't like sitting on a chair, and just watching a TV and barely interacting with it. And I remember I was playing on PS1, PS2, and then PS3, and I had fun with it. But I was mainly outside playing hockey, soccer, and a bunch of sports. And then at some point, I had friends that were starting to do the speed runs and things like that. So I was like, I think I might do that. And then MMORPG starting to be popular. So I was like, I might try to do that too. And I was always very bored with it. And then the PS4 came out and I bought it day one. And it's sit in a box on the. Oh, it was a PS3. Yeah, it sit in its box, and I opened it like 3 or 4 weeks after it was just sitting there in a corner. I installed it, I put it together, and then I was like, I played. It was called Playable Trailer PT, which was a kind of a small horror demo.
Silent Hill, I believe it was
Yeah,
a spin-off one. That was insane. One of the scariest little game experiences I've ever
yeah,
seen.
yeah. And I was playing it in daylight, so I just like closed the curtains and kept playing. And I was like, it's still too not immersive enough, I would say. So I would wait until night to play it, so it's really more immersive, and then I would wait until night, and I would sit closer to the TV just to be really immersed and not have distractions going on. And then I was like, yeah, I prefer doing it in real life than in the game, I guess. But there's no horror experience like that in real life, I guess. So I was mainly keeping my console to try experiences that you will not be able to experience in real life, like No Man's Sky and things like that. But I couldn't play for more than an hour and then be very bored with it. So I stopped playing at some point during. I had the PS4, did the same thing, it sit in the box for a while before I installed it, and then I finally installed it. And then it was 2015. Someone said, "Hey, there's a new thing that exists, and it's called VR, and it's like gaming, but like if you're sitting right in front of your TV." I was like, it sounds okay. And then they said, "There's a demo in a town. Do you want to go and then we'll try it?" I'm like, yeah, sure. So we did. We made a little road trip of 30 minutes to get to Montreal, and there was a demo over there. So we went there, and I tried VR, and I was like, "Oh shit! I just found something." And then we were coming back in the car, and I was like, I have like memories of me being in the game, not playing the game, but like being in the game. Like it's like it happened to me. And then at night I was sleeping, and then I woke up in the morning, and I was like, I have dreams of me in the game, doing things I did in the game, and it was just weird to me. And I was like, I need to try it again. And then I went back to the same place, and and basically they said, well, the demo's not here anymore. And I was like, I need to play it again. So where is it? and they said, well, there's a VR arcade that will open soon, so you might want to wait for that. So I was like, okay, I'll wait. And then there was a VR arcade that opened in Montreal, and I went there, played again, and it was fun again. So I just started to go way too often, I would say. And it was like a 30, 45 minutes drive. And then in Montreal, there's basically no parking, so you have to pay for a parking. So I was paying for a parking. I was walking to that place. I was paying for a room and then playing it. And at some points, I was like, I need one at home. And so I started looking for it. But you need like cable, and then ceiling cable management, and then you need a bunch of trackers in your room to be really tracking it. And I honestly ate all of that. I think that's holding VR back. So I was not a fan of that. And sorry for all the PC VR people listening right now, the purists that want the cable. Cables are not good, and they will never be. And so I just waited until the Oculus Go came out, and started playing with that, and it was like, that is not it, but it's closer from being it. And I was like, if they can do what PCVR can do on a mobile headset, and I don't even care about the graphics, because the best game at the time were Super Hot and Beat Saber, and both of them are not known for being extremely pretty and realistic. So I was like, you don't need a pretty game, you just need a game that is fun and create emotions. So yeah, that's how I got into VR. And then from there, when the Go came out, I was like, there's not many games, and there's probably a reason why there's not many games. It must be very hard to make. And then I started to try to make my own games, and I realized that uh, there was a forum back at the time that was trying to get people to help each other and things, but on the forum it's not live. It's not you post something and then you'll go back to it the next day or 2 days later to see if someone answered to you, but you just lost 1 or 2 days, which is not good when you're trying to make a game. You don't want to lose games every time you face a challenge. Days, sorry, every time you face a challenge. So I created a Discord where people would get together, and then devs would help each other. Uh, and they would be in private channels together, and then the community would be in another channel. So the community would be used as QA testers, and then the devs would be together trying to build their game and have instant reaction with devs. And yeah, from there we built a bigger community of devs, and games would start to come faster on an Oculus Go. And then the Quest came out, and I was like, yeah, that's the thing. That's the next big thing. And forget about PCVR. It's all Quest. It needs to be easy. PCVR is really great. I still play PCVR every few days. I love it. But I think for consumers to really hit something, you need something that is easy, pick up and play. I know that people say PCVR is easy once you set it up, but you have to set it up first, which is not easy, and then you have to keep it there. So, like, you have to have a dedicated room because you don't want a bunch of cables, on your ceiling and cameras everywhere in your living room. That just looks extremely weird and it's ugly. So I think yeah, Quest is where it needs to start, and I think the numbers speaks for themselves too. So yeah,
I mean, we've been watching VR since, geez, the Oculus Kickstarters, but I never had a PC
yeah,
VR ready computer. And then the thought of, well, I'm going to invest all that much in the computer, which will be out of date in 2 or 3 years. And then I also need to get the headset too. It was always enough of a boundary to stop from entering as a player into the VR market, but I always watched it, and I saw the Quest 1 drop, and I almost got it.
Hmm.
I went over to my sister's house. I tried the Quest 1, and the Quest 2 was just coming out by then. And so boom, I went home. I was like, "Dad, you got to." Like, just he didn't even try it
I didn't
yet.
even try it. I just bought it
Yep.
instantly.
Because standalone VR, it's exactly what you said. Unfortunately, I know, like you said, this isn't what the PC or VR crowd is going to hear or want to hear, but I agree entirely. Like wires and hardware requirements with the computer, stuff like that is going to keep the industry a much more niche number. Whereas to be able to just grab a hardware, put it on your head, and that's it. You just press
yeah,
the power button and it's good. That's a game changer. And even for developers, sometimes we talk with them on Rough Talk VR, and they'll say, "Hey, it's much easier designing for the Quest 2." Of course, there's limitations, but you don't have the variables of everybody's different hardware, all the different headsets, which can sometimes be a QA nightmare. So,
yeah.
I'm right with you. I always watched VR, but it took good standalone to get me into it, and I don't think we're the minority. I actually think that's the majority
Well,
of
the
gamers.
to me,
Like,
it was just the finance. That's all.
mhm,
It's like I didn't want to spend $4,000 to have good
mhm,
VR. It's like
Yeah.
the price of the Quest 2 is to
mhm.
me the biggest driving factor. I mean, the technology will get better and better and better, but
Well, and not
Yeah.
everybody lives in a house or a spot that they own. Some people rent, and there's agreements you can't drill stuff in the wall and to start to hang up pulley systems and light track. It's too much, and
It
limitations of
is.
space. You're gonna put that stuff in your living room. It, it's too much to keep it from going mainstream. Whereas a Quest 2, soon Quest 3, boom on your
Oh
head,
yeah.
good to go. So that's a great story, and I think that speaks to the team that's over at Combat Waffle Studios. It's one of those all-star teams that everybody comes with passion and from a background that just involves loving VR.
well,
So,
and one could have easily have thought at the beginning that, okay, this is what he does and it's somewhat one dimensional, but you listen to that story and it's like dev experience, community experience, game testing experience, being, having the self-knowledge to know like what a success is and what a success wouldn't be, marketing experience.
Mhm.
This is one individual,
Yep.
so it's like I can't imagine this whole team together, what they all really bring to the table.
But the sad truth about
Yeah.
sometimes in these industries is if you don't have the college background in it or the prior industry experience and flat screen, a lot of places won't take the chance with you, even if you are part of the community in a positive way in that.
Hmm.
Whereas Scott and the Combat Waffle Studios team, beyond yourself, a lot of the people involved with it, even us doing this podcast, it's like, hey, you have the passion, you love it, you have the work ethic. Let's go. Here's the opportunity, and the results will speak for themselves. So I think that's another aspect
Oh,
of why this game is so good.
I think Scott has a knack for finding and recognizing talent,
Yeah.
and through
Yeah.
past life experience, I'll
Mhm.
say, prior to combat, it's like, and you're able to apply that. It's just weird. Guy comes out of nowhere and is just
Most popular game in
laying
VR.
waste in VR. It's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
But it's something that I think other teams should be looking at closely and going, what have they done? I'm not going to say anybody can make a game, but you can put a team together and make a game.
Mhm.
But how is this team been able to make a game, release an early access, and still crush it out there?
Because it's full of passionate people. They've
Yeah.
taken chances on them, and they're all delivering. And the product and the results speak for themselves. So I love that story. Great background, and kind of back to Ghosts of Tabor. The other week, the much anticipated, much
The wipe.
hyped, the wiped came. New
With the
bunker.
changes, yeah.
Yeah, new bunker, and there's been a couple updates since. We got mag palming. It's just fun to do in the bunker just for fun and ha-has. And
Weight's
it's
coming.
great. Weight's coming. Some graphical changes on the quest. I noticed the water's kind of a different, I don't know if color or tint or
I think
shade.
I swear it was an improvement to the
To
overall
me,
graphics.
to
of
me,
the
the
game.
graphics look better, but the stability is way better.
Mhm.
I noticed when you load in onto the island, now it says day, which means to me, night mode coming. I know Scott teased that, but now it looks like it's in the code or at least ready to go live.
Yeah.
So I see some people online, they'll comment, even though you do a great job posting, here's the patch notes, here's what changed.
No, the announcements are no joke. There's no
Yeah,
when you were talking transparency, it's legit. If there's a delay on something, it's like, hey, we're delaying. This is why.
Mhm.
We're not even going to commit to telling you like the exact day that it is going to come.
It'll be back up as soon as we can. We're doing our best. But if anybody needs info of what came, go to the Discord, check the announcements, the update channel. You'll get fully tuned in. But for anybody listening, on a nice drive to work or as background music, doing dishes, whatever, do you want to go over a bit what changes and new stuff actually came in this wipe?
Yeah, sure. I might just pull the notes just to make
Oh,
sure
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
don't
talk
blame you.
about.
Even this last update, it's no joke. I was
Yeah.
trying to see how many I could remember
Yeah.
off the top of my head, and there's no freaking way.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I
not
don't
Yeah.
like,
I don't
hey,
think
quality of life.
No, and I don't think I've crashed once since the wipe.
No,
Whereas, not saying that happened a bunch before, but it
it
did
happened.
exist. Yeah.
It's no
Yeah.
secret.
Now there's no frame rate drops when I load into the bunker or the map. It's like it's instantly smooth. That the wipe was good.
Yeah, we did try to improve it, of course. I would say the thing that people need to understand, you don't want to use it as an excuse or anything, is that it is early access and it is barely over a year old. So there's still a lot of core features that we're introducing. And whenever we introduce new core features, it also means that it may impact the overall gameplay. And we need to put those features in before going to a polish and like just polish the game and make sure it's bug free or at least as close as we can. So yeah, we did introduce a lot of things. So of course there will be issues coming with that, but we think overall what we brought was better than what it broke. I would say. So like mag bombing, of course, it brings potential issues. We did try to break everything we could, but it breaks more than we can think of. And we did try with every single gun, but then we found out that in certain conditions with certain mags, it would create physics issues and things like that. So there's always hiccups to a new patch that introduced as many features. But yeah, we did add mag bombing, which I think is a huge game changer. Whenever you're in a fight, you don't want to grab your mag and just throw it away and grab a new one, because you might want to reuse that mag. Maybe it's not empty, but you just need to reload it real quick because you don't want to run out of ammo in a firefight. So now being able to just grab your mag, switch, put back in your vest, and keep shooting really helps. And then I think my personal favorite feature after mag bombing would be the airdrops on island. I've only noticed it. It's hard to remember when I played live and when I played on the testing, but I think I've only faced it twice on the live build so far. But both times were very epic battles where you would see, the airplane coming. People would, start moving toward where they think it would drop, or at least in a line, with the airplane. So then you just line up and you try to see everyone, just going in the line, and then you start shooting at them. And then you see the airdrops, and then everyone gathered toward where that will drop. Some people do stay a bit further, but they have an angle on it. So as soon as you're moving, you're just watching every potential angle where someone would snipe you from. It changes the game entirely. And when it drops on the ground, that little sound it makes when it hits the ground, and then you see the red smoke coming out. It really changes the fights on island, and from what I've seen, makes people stay on island a bit longer to try to experience that, because that was an issue. People would go on island and just run toward the exfil, trying to grab a few things on their way, because it's a much more, I don't want to say flat, but like it's one level map. Even if you go up a hill, I mean, it's not like floors like a silo, so you don't have to go through CQB fights. So island was used for just going in and going out, basically. So I think it really adds something to that. There's player experience that we added. Right now, player experience is really just a hand screen that looks cool, and that number that you can brag about and say your friend, I'm level 10, you're level 2, so you're bad at the game. So it's just something cool that you can use to brag about. But it was something that we had to introduce to the game, because it's linked to so many other features that are coming that we had to set the foundation for that. And people were like, why you even show that to us if you're not using it? Well, you can just not look at it if you don't want to see it, but many players like to see the XP that they gain from killing a player, or the XP that they gain from looting and things like that, and just say, I'm a better looter than you because I got that amount of XP, and compare with your friends that you were in a raid with and say, I made that amount of XP, how much did you make? It's bragging rights, basically. Yeah, so I think it's a cool feature. We did remove the ability to grab guns from other players, which was cool, but it came with some issues over the network and things like that. So we had to temporarily remove it. We hope to bring it back, because there's some people that make very cool videos, stealing someone's weapon and shooting them. So I can't wait for that to be back. The purple cards are back to what they were before, what they should be. So it's the vault rooms, rooms with eye loot in. That's what the purple cards are for, and we introduced the orange card with their real purpose, which is unlocking the extract point in a specific location of an island of Tabor. So it's a cool place that you can just basically loot the labs. That's a hint of where it is, and then exfil real quick without having the danger of crossing the entire map to extract with your good loot that you just found. And of course, the safe house change. So yeah, I would say like the major changes would be mag bombing, airdrops, and the safe house that is entirely redesigned. with the power generator, water filter that now have a use case, because before that you would grab the water filter and just sell it because it meant nothing. But now you can refill your water bottles, and they might even be harder to find at some point in raid, because now you can keep them, refill them, and bring them back into raid, which will change the entire dynamic of how you deal with water. So yeah, and of course bug fixing and things like that. And then the latest hotfix that we brought, we also wanted players to enjoy some new features like boosting the resolution of scopes on PC, because they have a PC that is capable of doing that, and it's not fun when you're looking through a scope and you see blurry, but everywhere around is not blurry. So it makes sense to give them a higher resolution scope. And of course, the Desert Eagle that we introduced, a new scope we introduced, and left-handed angle grip, so you can switch the angle of the grip if you're left-handed, which helps them, because they used to go shooting like cross arm because the angle grip was for the right-handed people, so now they can switch it and play in a more comfortable angle, I would say. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That covers a bunch of things that we just introduced to the game.
Nice. So we'll go a little bit into the bunker. The new bunker's sick, but you referenced refilling water, so I gotta ask, how does one refill water and gas?
Yeah, so for the water, you basically find a water filter that will have a kind of durability to it, so you can see the meter on the side, and then you install it in your kitchen. You go in the kitchen area and you install it between two pipes. There's an icon there, so you just place it there, and then you would use the sink next to it to refill your water, and don't forget it open, just running. If you turn it on and then you just leave, it would keep going, so you will lose all your durability from your water filter. So make sure you just fill the bottle, close it, and then don't use it if you don't need to. Same for the power generator. So if you bring gas in there, pour gas in, turn it on, and if you don't use your bunker anymore, you're logging off for the day, turn it off, because you don't want it on while you're not playing the game, because it will keep using gasoline. It will be linked to features in the future that you might want to use your power generator, keep it on while you're not playing the game, because it will maintain some things that might need power in your bunker while you're not in the game. So it will be cool things, and don't forget to come back to put more gas in before it runs out if you have things that requires it to be on. So yeah, people will have to return to the game if they want to keep it running. And to find gas, you can go buy it from the market or in game. It's a rare loot, and it spawns an area where big loot can spawn, like helmets and things like that. So you have to find those areas where you believe rare loot is spawning, and it fits in a backpack, but you might have to throw pretty much everything that is in your backpack to fit it in your backpack. So yeah, it's about deciding if it's worth the space that it will take. If it's worth the risk to just drop all your loot just to bring that back home. Or you can carry it in your hand if you're using a pistol in the other end or something. And so yeah.
No, I think I know why you'd want to keep something running, even if you're not playing. I won't say what it is, because I'm pretty sure I know what that would be.
I have a guess that it'll be just based off of our first episode with Scott. I think he teased plants growing.
Well, you've got the grow room right there,
so it's gotta be the
So-
it's gotta be the plants. It's gotta be the plants.
Would be even crazier is if you could set the light timer for the plants on the light schedule.
Like 12 and 12?
12 and 12 or 20 on, 4 off.
Yeah. Oh.
wicked excited for the Desert Eagle. I personally think that's a great. I mean, you're throwing a 50 cal bullet out of that thing.
I
You
think
don't. You don't have much of a chance with a.
I think you would even ask Scott about it if he had ever shot one, or I don't remember. I don't know if you asked if it would be
I
in the
asked him.
game.
No. I asked. I didn't ask if it would be in the game. I asked if he ever shot one, which of course.
Yeah, he said yes.
He said it's a hand wrecker.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's a 50 cal.
That
It's a
thing's gonna be
beautiful weapon.
so loud in the game. You're gonna hear when
And the airdrops. We will admit, we got to see an air. It just by coincidence, it dropped right next to the house we were in.
I will neither confirm nor deny if we,
and
hit
then
a guy or two going after it.
no, there was like four humans, and
Picked them all off.
two of them had an amazing loadout. I
Mhm.
mean, like phenomenal.
We killed them. We grabbed their stuff. We're like, ow,
yeah, we're leaving. We're done. This is a wash. But yeah, so we were guilty of because we were looking out the window and we saw two go running, and then we picked one of them and hunted the other, and then while we were looting behind the airdrop all the stuff they had, because it didn't expect them to be that packed out, and then two more people tried to flank us on each side of and they got killed.
They got the old rat-a-tat-tat.
I think I ran out even carrying a full backpack in one hand on that one. Yeah. And I'm all about the stats. I won't lie. It feels good when to know,
I even
I'm level whatever. It doesn't, it feels good. I want to know experience goes up. And
I even loved what Scott talked about on our first episode of potential bunker levels itself beyond just the player, but leveling up your whole bunker. That's
lights.
Oh my!
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, hey, even now you turn on your generator, boom, you notice the difference visually, and to know that that's going to have a gameplay effect too is
there's
huge.
So many things coming. I think first time we talked to him, it sounded like a 5-year plan of content and fixing. And this is gonna, I don't know. This is one for the bucks.
And the new bunker is sick with, you were talking about the generator, the new water,
the money room,
you get to see your pile of money. For people that had DLC, instead of everything being in the computer, it was automatically placed on the wall.
Which freaked me out after the wipe. I went in there and went to the trade room and was like,
everything's out of the computer.
Where's all my shit? I'm like, my stuff's not
on the wall,
your armory
baby.
In there.
And now the armory has 3 or kind of like a main room and then 2 side ones. Same with the supply room. We had referenced the grow room. There's so much in that new bunker. I love it.
I don't think I've seen a grow room in the new bunker.
No, but we know it's going to be there.
It's not open yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're working on it. So when there's some rooms that before opening them, we want to make sure there's a reason why it's open, like the grow room or the radio. So since it's just like, if there's no features in there, it's just visually looking at models that may even change soon. So like we don't know if that's the final form of it because we're working on it. But they are being worked on, and we're very excited to introduce them to our players whenever it's ready, because we don't just do that for being pretty and adding an activity to the game, growing plants and things like that. There will be a purpose to it. I think whenever we reach that place where the bunker is final in its feature, I would say, and connecting the player levels to it, and every aspect of it, people will realize why we've built that and follow those steps to get there, starting with the player level and then adding that room and that room and that room. And I think people will see the dots connect and be like, yeah, that's why it was made that way, and it makes sense now. So I'm excited for them too.
I got complete faith in the Combat Waffle team with what they're doing. I have no problem with that door staying closed until it needs to open. But every time there's a change, it's always for the better. I've never seen, granted, there's been updates, and then because of the updates, other things happen, but there's still been improvements. So I always say the improvements will always outweigh the.
And I know we've already said it, but I can't stress it enough. It's not a finished product. It's still early access.
It's ridiculous.
It might feel like a finished product because it's the only game you play now and it's so much fun and everything, but it's still early access. It's less time than most games take to develop in total. You know, it's like you would reference, 2 years, 3 years is what we hear from developers a lot.
2 years on an aggressive studio.
And this is just over a year, and people are playing it. So of course there's going to be bugs. As you add new features, there's going to be new bugs. You try to fix one, there's going to be a new one. Just enjoy the ride. It's only going to get better as I
always joke that there'll be a time where people long for the early days of Ghosts of Tabor, like the original first, test model. Even if it's got bugs and whatever, people are going to want to play it.
I say we're 3 to 6 months away from people posting OG bunker and throwing, posting flashback photos. People being, whoa, what's that? You had to be there, and somebody goes, oh, I want that back or something. It's gonna happen. That's how it happens in every game.
I think it happens a bit with the reward, the wipe reward. So some people that were there, early on got the golden AK alpha, the golden AKM, sorry. So like those OG people, whenever they bring that in game, and if someone killed them, they're like, oh, I found a gun that is not in the game, and then they send me pictures, and they're like, look what I found. And I'm like, oh, you're lucky. They're like, yeah, but it's a bug. It's not supposed to be in the game. I'm like, no, it is in the game. People who played it early have that gun, and they're like, oh, cool. Like, can I keep it? Yeah, sure, you can keep it. If you kill the person that got the gun, it's not yours. So yeah, I think it's already happening. People that not only have memories of the old days of Ghosts of Tabor, but also carry kind of a gift from those days. That is the wipe reward. So I think it's just a proof that you were there, and you may or may not want to bring it in raid to prove your point, but it's there in your bunker.
That's why
there is no way my gold AK leaves my wall. That's just where it stays. I keep it away from everything, so there's no accidental. Because I'll admit, with the lights dimmed, it's you might mistakenly grab it, but you will never kill me in game and find any of my reward shit. I'll never go in with a giant spoon.
I was going to say, I'm never even bring that in. Well, because here's the thing. If I knew for sure, if I died, somebody was going to walk away with it, I would bring it. But there's no guarantee somebody's even going to loot it. And that server ends. That means that limited edition item, that limited time, that there's a finite number, there's no guarantee it's even going to somebody. It might just disappear into the ethos. Like you're bonkers for bringing that. Again,
dude, there's so many videos of people doing it though. They'll go into a raid with a gold AK. I'm like, they are crazy.
If I knew for sure, guaranteed somebody was going to loot it, just to keep the cycle going, I might do it. But the fact that it could disappear to nothing,
no,
absolutely not. That's staying on my wall. Exactly what you said. Giant spoon, not touching it.
Yeah,
that's for decoration.
I don't care if it shoots lasers. It's not moving from my wall.
So, we've definitely had you for a good conversation already. But I got a couple questions. I can't let you go without asking. First off, what's your go-to loadout? As somebody that's been playing the game since the beginning, somebody that works in it. If you
tries to break it,
if you go in, you just want to have fun and run town on people, what do you go in with?
Yeah, so my opinion on that is probably different from many people, because I like to go with starter gear and take on players with late game gear, because I feel like there's nothing more satisfying than using an SKS, which cannot even have a sight on, and kill someone that has a way better gun than you. So I go with the SKS. That's how I start my raid. I go with 2 mags in my pouches and then 1 in my backpack, so I carry 4 mags total on me, 1 in the gun, 2 on myself, and 1 in the backpack. And then I don't even wear a helmet, because I feel like it's even more risky. So I feel like it's the way to go. And then I wear the sand color vest, which has some protection, not too much, just enough. and I go with the adventure backpack. So I always try to fill it until there's no more room to fit an item in there, and kill as many players as I can. And of course, whenever I kill someone, I try to grab their gun and kind of do a gun game, and just try to improve my loadout as I go. within the raid. So yeah, that would be my go-to loadout. Yeah.
I love I won't lie. I mean, in the early times when we started playing it and right before the wipe when we were like just, using all our good shit, I love going in with like a Glock. Sometimes we've gone in naked with no vest, no
Yeah.
helmet, just the standard backpack. And then from there just try to, and there's been times we've gone in because of dumb mistakes with no freaking weapons. And we've still managed to leave the game with some body armor, that sometimes double fist in the guns, but it's a great feeling when you go in basically with nothing and you come out
Yeah.
with a loadout.
Like when we killed those players around the airdrop, and we're
Dude,
like, let's
no,
get this.
that was one of the most stacked loadouts.
Yeah.
From gun to backpack to even having the Tommy gun in the backpack to, I mean, I almost felt bad because it's like, wow, I might have been a little pissed.
No, they must have been so confident they
Oh
were going
yeah.
to get us flanking us because
Oh,
they
yeah.
yeah, and
They
we
were
were just in
coming
a
around both
firefight.
they
And you
saw
know how it feels from the other end because you've been there before,
Oh,
so you kind of know the feeling.
Some days you're the hammer, some days you're the nail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think more often I'm the nail than the hammer. So I'm very proud of my hammer moments, that's for sure. And
Yeah.
then one
And
more thing I gotta ask, and then I'll pass it to Strass over here if he's got anything else to ask before we let you go. For a new player just getting started today, or they've been playing a week, they're struggling, they're always the nail, never the hammer. What's some
yeah.
tips that you have for a new player in Ghosts of Tabor?
Yeah. So I would say like Ghosts of Tabor and games in general, I think, are all about creating emotion and interesting loops. So because you want to go back to the game and you want to explore it over and over and over. So you kind of need to create that moment for you. So the best scenario to create it, in my opinion, is when you go in for the first time, just grab a loadout that feels decent for you. No gear fear. Just start your fresh account. Go in there, grab what you feel is a good loadout for you to start with. Um, Try reloading the mag a few times before going in raid for the first time. Just make sure you know the angle and all. How to get the mag in. I know the SKS kind of require you to put the mag in at an angle. You can't just do like most game and just magically pop it in. You need to really do like the real life motion. Um, so I would do that and not go in a raid, but go in a training mode where you cannot bring items back from your raid, but you also cannot lose items from your raid. So if you die, you spawn back in your bunker. You still have that loadout that you love. So I would say go just in a few training mode in on Island of Tabor. Get used to the map. See where the loadouts are popping in. Not the loadouts, sorry, but the crates with the items in, and see the what you think are the point of interest of the map, and then just link the dots basically. See where you spawn and where are those point of interest, and then draw the routes. The routes. Sorry, to get there. So you will kind of know where the players will be based on where you spawn, where you think they would go, and then see the traffic, what it would like on the map. And after a few rounds, you kind of notice, where you spawn, where you go automatically as you spawn. Oh, I'm on the beach near pier, I'm going there. You kind of get used to those movement around the map, and train against AI to know how to shoot them. I know people say AI is OP, but once you know how to shoot them, it's extremely easy to take them all without taking a single damage. So just get around the map, get used to it. And once you feel comfortable and you're like, okay, I learned the map, I know how to beat the NPC, I know like if I spawn there, I go there, or at least I think, because I haven't faced real players yet, so you don't know like the spots that people are watching. Now take that same loadout that you got used to and go in a real raid and see if what you think would be a great ID really applies to a real, I don't want to say a real life scenario, but real game, a real raid scenario, and see if it works basically.
I think that's freaking awesome advice.
Yeah.
I won't lie. I still like going into the training mode per se, just for
Practice.
shooting practice more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. So, that was really good advice. But before we let Mikey go, anything else that you wanna ask?
I think at this moment in time, I think I'm good. That's a ton to digest.
Yeah, that was a great one. This
I
was a
I
this was
loved
a fun one.
hearing some of the background though.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Well,
what's gotten this gentleman to this point.
I
But
think.
it's awesome that he's part of the Combat Waffle team
Mm-hmm.
and did believe in the vision. But again, just a group of rock stars who have somehow.
Well, I'm a firm believer that people passionate about the game and VR, like Mikey over here, is a huge part of why Ghost of Tabor and how Ghost of Tabor blew up the way it did. So
We haven't seen nothing yet.
no,
That's the
so
craziest part of all. It's like it is nothing.
yeah, not even the beginning. So
Yeah.
thank you for joining us. That was a great interview. Hopefully the players of Ghost of Tabor, hopefully they picked up a tip or trick
I
or
would recommend a notepad.
got
Yeah.
some info to some things they were wondering. And anything else you want to say before we let you out of here?
Sure. Well, I want to thank you guys for what you do for VR, Ghost of Tabor, and other games too, because I've seen a bunch of your podcasts and episodes, and I really think that it makes every content creator contribute to VR right now, and we need that. We need positive takes, also constructive critiques, but positive people that really want to know more, curious about the people behind the games, and yeah, exploring the games. I said in the beginning, I think Ghost of Tabor success is usually impacted by content creators, and so we're really thankful for that. And I want to thank you for the hard work you do, because it's really a lot to do to keep track of who you invite and things like that, and keep making new content, staying interesting and on top of the game on every podcast. So thank you for what you're doing, guys.
No, definitely appreciate to hear that.
Yeah,
It's
that made my day.
it's something that we do not full time, but it's definitely a full time gig, if that
It's
makes
a
sense.
full-time job that we don't
Yeah.
do full-time.
Yes,
That's
but we do
that's
it.
what we're saying.
Hopefully one day it is full time in both aspects, both in commitment and in paying the bills and everything like that. But it's the love of the industry.
Dude, 2 years of podcasting and we've never missed, knock on wood, I don't want to start now, but we've never missed a week.
No, and quite frankly, you mentioned constructive criticism. Not every game we ever talk about we give a 10 out of 10, and we only ever say positive things. When we have an opinion about
We're
something, we say it.
truthful.
Yeah, but the reality is we're not here to crap on things. If there's a game that's so bad that we just don't review it. What's the point in sitting there and crapping on somebody's hard work? But when we find
Yeah.
a game like Ghost of Tabor,
No, that one instantly, I, and we could have easily have just
Mhm.
talked about it on Rough Talk, but it's like, I want to be
And we
part of
have,
that.
but
I want to be part of that because I saw the plan. It's like literally I said it's like 10 years of gameplay, 5 years of game development and just
Mhm.
making it better and better and better. And it's like, I want to go on that ride.
Yeah,
It's
and
very few games that have like really embedded into my soul like this, plus not
Yeah.
to mention even the other games.
that's
Because
what I was gonna go over. I'm
don't
so
even get me
sold on.
started with that. That's a ridiculous.
Yeah, and like if I can give I don't want to say a tip, but maybe a little hint of what I think is the recipe for success in VR is being able to I don't want to say recycle content, but basically like if you look at Beat Saber, you're playing the same songs over and over and you're smashing the beats. If you play Ghost of Tabor, you're playing the same map, going getting loot. If you look at Green Hell, you're going in the game and then you're doing stuff over and over. So it's basically making interesting loops and creating emotions. If you're playing Unplug, you're playing the same song and you see the crowd in front of you and they throw stuff at you. It's just create emotions in your game, create interesting game loops, and people will come back. So make sure that the loop is there at the beginning of development. Focus on that loop, make it fun. Players will come and answer with positive feedback.
Yeah, you look at a game like Walkabout Mini Golf, and that's the
Oh yeah,
recipe. You just play the course over and over again in Ghost of
Mhm.
Tabor, 2 maps, and guess what?
Well, dude, how much fun do we have when we do raids together? Let's be totally honest.
Mhm.
It's freaking. Sometimes it's like hardcore serious shit, but The
we're
amount of
laughing,
goof
we're
off time, having
having
fun. Yeah, come on.
There's
It's
so
very
many,
well rounded.
there's been
Yeah.
many more maps teased to come, but even if it just stopped at Silo and Tabor Island, I'm not complaining. I have
I'm not
such a
now.
blast, so
And hearing a bigger map is coming is scary.
yeah, in a night mode. So, but no, you're
Scary.
right. A fun loop and some social elements that seem to work better in VR than they do flat screen.
Yeah.
Even that doesn't hurt either. And Ghosts of Tabor, they check every box on that recipe. So, great advice. So, thank you again for joining us, Mikey. That was great insight both into the world of Ghosts of Tabor, but also just the world of VR in general. So, I think people like you, like I said before, big reason that that Combat Waffle Studios and Ghosts of Tabor have been such a success. So,
Thank
hope
you
you
for
enjoy.
having me.
Yeah, hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully this isn't the
Thank
last
you.
time we have you on Tabor Radio.
Yeah.
2 episodes in, and so far 2 great interviews. I think we were like halfway through it, and I was like, oh geez, I think we could easily do 2 to 3 hours with Mikey if we tried.
2 hours would have been beyond easy. I've got so much to digest. It's like, even knowing, like when he's talking about the updates, it's like, yeah, I read the list of updates, but there's something different when people who are involved in it talk about it. You see the pitch levels change of different enthusiasms, I'll say. And then there's always the still to come aspect that's even more exciting. So he's a fantastic human being, and Rockstar, like the rest of the team, I'm sure is like holding true.
Yeah, and to have to try to think of everything a player might do in every spot and go to try to do that in different times with different amount of people. And
Well, I applied to one Q&A, not really knowing in its entirety what it was, just based on the description that was posted. And I'm
Quality
like,
assurance,
I'm
baby.
like, what do I have to lose? Which obviously I didn't get the job doing it, but it's actually cool to know firsthand from someone who's done it what it really entails. Because sometimes something might seem like a turn on when you hear about it, like, oh, I'd love to be a Q&A person, but do you have what it takes to actually go in and do that? Look at what he's got to do every single. You're not playing the game necessarily. You're trying to find all the problems, or researching what someone else said was a problem and trying to duplicate it, and bringing
with
other people in to do it.
Discord DMs and emails and
I was gonna
all of that.
Yeah, dude, the community in itself it's monstrous, and I'm excited for the day when this officially goes to the store, which in my opinion, not knowledge, but it will be there someday.
Oh, and it's going to be a top seller, top
It's
rated.
the community's probably going to be one of the largest in I'll say Quest or Meta VR.
But in VR in general too, no doubt. PC VR, doesn't matter. Any headset it goes to, it's going to be, any store it's on, it's going to be top selling for virtual reality.
I can't imagine the amount of servers they're going to need for that day. Like a warehouse full.
And you look at somebody like Mikey, who this isn't his first entry into the VR industry. I mean, he's an OG, and
self-development, was going to build his own game. The one thing I regret is not asking him
if he had
what it was really, and if he ever plans on continuing with it. Because for all we know, one of the group of games might even be coming from him.
Although I know so far all of Combat Waffle Studios games, I think, are going Unreal. I don't know if that's the forever plan.
I'm not upset about it.
I know he had talked that he had learned some Unity, I think, if I picked that up correctly. So I'm wondering if he's out there learning Unreal right now for some potential stuff.
And as these processors get better for the standalones,
the Quest 3 is right around the corner.
Better versions of Unreal that are just going to, come on, man.
Is there a game that could use the performance increase more than Ghosts of Tabor? Like what they'll be able to squeeze out of a new processor and performance increases in the Quest 3?
I just feel bad that they'll probably still have to maintain Quest 2
absolutely
for support, but
that's the way it goes. Hopefully it's its own version. If
not
you get
saying
what I mean.
that they should by any means not
Drop
support Quest 2. Yeah,
no, there's 20 million of those.
3 years at least.
There's a lot of Quest 2s on the market, and quite frankly, there's not a single Quest 3 on the market right now.
But if you look at the time frame from Quest 1 to Quest 2 launch, and the fact that they have been slowly, certain game, we no longer support. You can still play it, but you won't get any more updates for it.
Well, the Quest 1 to the Quest 2 life cycle jump was 1 year. You know, Quest 2 to Quest 3 is 3 years. You know, maybe the forced amount of support won't be as long as, you know, we're just seeing 3 years later after the Quest 2 launch.
I think
the Quest
we're going
1
to see
support.
them quicker now, too.
Yeah,
So
just because it was a
it's
bigger
gonna
life
be-
cycle.
It's going to be awesome, though. More processing power, more fun in Ghosts of Tabor.
And, man, it's just another member of the Combat Waffle Studio team who's been there since essentially the beginning, since the very early days, that no doubt are just a piece in the puzzle of why this is such a hit.
There's things to be in its entirety. Like months from now, you'll be able to put it all together. And as a studio yourself, you'll have a lot to learn, I think, from each one of these people when they speak.
Yeah, and I can't think of anything else that came in the update that we didn't go over. Again, for me, the big highlight is the smoothness of the gameplay and that new bunker. I love the new bunker. And there's still more doors to come.
But the other update dropping the Deagle is pretty freaking huge. That's huge, dude.
Yeah,
because that's a
Eagle.
gun that, like, you know, it needs to be in the game.
I'm sure it was on the whiteboard for a while, and it was just a matter of other things first, and maybe the wipe needed to go live first for gameplay and engine reasons. But man, so many changes with this wipe. It actually makes me
The wipe in the update, definitely.
And so I don't think that they're gonna.
I expect nothing less than more great things coming. So
yeah, I'm curious.
Hold on.
Yeah, we gotta see who we're gonna have on for episode 3. You know, if you have any suggestions of people from the team you want to hear from, you know, go comment.
Who wouldn't you want to hear from?
Yeah, right. Go comment in the YouTube video, the comments. Spotify has like a little comment section. Also post it in the Discords. You know, again, something we didn't stress. This is the official Ghosts of Tabor podcast, so you know there'll be plenty of direct communications with the team, with the developers to come in future
we'll try
episodes.
our best not to speculate unless it's just for fun.
Yeah, we'll keep speculation to the non-affiliated Rough Talk VR. This is for the official Ghost of Tabor news and outlet with developers. And, you know, again, it's been mainly Scott doing the interview. So to be able to sit down, talk, hear from all of these other members, I think it's going to be really cool.
Well, in all fairness, too, it's cool that for the most part, I don't anticipate a question could get asked where they can look over for Scott to answer the question too. So it's interesting. I'm loving it.
Yeah. So stay tuned for more episodes of Tabor Radio coming soon. You know, let us know who else you want to see on the podcast. You know, some other things that you want to hear us talk about related to Ghosts of Tabor. And then stay tuned for episode 3.
Enjoy.
Yep. Subscribe, 5 stars, all that stuff, and enjoy the rest of your day. Ciao, ciao.